Hello and welcome to another Xero how-to video. Today's topic is on bank reconciliations and when and how to use bank rules. So I'm going to dive straight into our Xero file. So I am just using the demo company today, and I'm going to be going straight into my main business bank account. Obviously though, if you have multiple, you may need to just review what transactions run through each bank account. So to start off with, again, main business bank account, I'm going to hit reconcile my 28 items. So one thing with bank rules, you just have to be very cautious of, but they are fantastic to use. So for example, as you can see here, we have a few OKs. And yes, Xero gets quite intelligent. So for example, in the past, we must have reconciled this as a bank fee. So it does pick up. The artificial intelligence is fantastic these days. But the idea is to have your bank reconciliation as smooth sailing as possible. So you want to see as many of these OKs as possible, because obviously it saves you time at the end of the day when getting a bank reconciliation up to date. Now, you do have to be mindful though, whilst they are fantastic. So for example, we do have a bank rule already created. You can see where it says apply rule. There is a few tips and traps. So I will run through those today. The one great thing with bank rules though is that you know for a fact that this is going to be going to the right place. So for example, with this one, as you can see, Xero does prompt you with a guess of where you think it should go. But if we one day change this bank account to say advertising, this bank fee is then going to go straight to advertising, and that's obviously not correct. And moving forward, it's always going to pick that up. So whilst you should always be mindful that what's over here, which is obviously from your bank statements, actually is going to where it should in Xero, I know how easy it is to get into a click frenzy with that okay. So bank rules are a great way just to ensure they are going to the right place in Xero. But like I said, there is a few little trap areas, which I'll run through. But first of all, let's get going with a bank rule. So for example, we're going to go with this MCO cleaning. So say, for example, you are working in an office and this is your monthly fee to your cleaners. So what I'm going to do here is go to options and go create bank rule. The great way by doing it within your bank reconciliation screen is that it's actually going to pre-fill a lot of the information for us. So for example, as you can see, it's already got what my transaction description was. And then the rest we do have to fill out. So starting off with number one, so you've got two options. You've got any conditions match and all conditions match. At the moment, it doesn't really matter what it is because there's only one condition. However, when you start creating these bank rules, you might find that you might have, what's a really common example? I can't remember what the field might be, but say, for example, it might say that it was a transfer. Now, if you say any conditions match and you're trying to specifically pick one up for cleaning, if you go any conditions match, it's going to pick whatever condition it can match to. Now, I guarantee that you've got a lot of transfers going in and out of the bank account. So the moment it sees a transfer, it's going to pick up the rule for this cleaning one. So it's really important to make sure that the condition selection box is all conditions. So then it picks up all of these. Or you can clear the ones that aren't relevant. So for example, we don't really need to know whether it's a transfer because one day you might pay this via BPay, whatever it might be. And then it really wouldn't matter which one we selected because it's only going to pick up this bank rule if the description is MCO cleaning. Another great tip as well is, so for example, you might say when you transfer to this cleaning one a lot, or if it's your Telstra bills, you probably would have a lot of different reference numbers. So for example, what it might be this month will be a completely different number the next month. At the moment, it's trying to go, if the bank account statement matches this down to the very last number, it's going to pick up this bank rule. But as we know, reference numbers can change. So what I would actually suggest, if it pre-fills any numbers, remove any irrelevant information. So you purely want to pick up this rule if it says MCO cleaning. What you do have to do though is, because it no longer equals the description, because we've just got rid of a whole bunch of the description, you do have to select this to contains. So moving forward, as long as your bank statement contains this wording MCO cleaning, it's going to pick up this bank rule. This is a trap though, so be mindful of if you are a business that uses a motor vehicle and obviously pay for fuel. A really common example around town is BP fuel. But yes, you might have BP fuel Manalizer, BP fuel, etc. And some of them might even just say BP Manalizer. Or it could be BP Mornington. I should probably use that example because that is where we are based. As you can see here, this might change every single time. So after what you just learnt, you might remove the suburb and make sure this says contains BP. This is a trap, because this will also start picking up anything that has the words BP. So, for example, whilst you might be spending $100 a week on fuel at BP, if you happen to pay any of your larger bills with BPay, it's going to pick up BP out of the wording BPay, and then you're going to have all your big bills going to this rule. So just be really mindful that what you're entering in here isn't going to be triggering any of your other transactions that won't actually fit in within this rule. So back to our MCO cleaning. So we've got contains, MCO cleaning, then we've got to set the contact. So existing or new. So if you have already transferred to these people before, it's going to come up here. If it was a new one, you just type in your new contact and then select new contact. But obviously we do have MCO cleaning services in, so I'm going to select them. 3, allocate line items. So this one at the top here, this is if you want to do fixed value. So for example, if you have 2 different accounts, so say for example, they cleaned a site for you, but then they also clean a part of your office, and say you're on a monthly subscription and $50 is for the office, but $100 is for the site, you can actually split that up based off fixed amounts. So for example, like I said, you might have $50 go to one general ledger account, but then you might allocate the remaining balance somewhere else. But 99% of the time, the full amount's just going to the one chart of account. So for example, we want this to go to cleaning every single time. If you use tracking categories, this is where you select it here. But otherwise, at the moment, just to run through from start, we've got if the bank description has MCO cleaning, this rule is going to be picked up. It's then going to allocate it straight to our cleaning expense account. Set the reference. I actually never really truly understood what this one is. I've just always kept it as by me during bank rec. And then you've got add rule details. So another great tip, obviously if you have 2 bank accounts and sometimes you pay out of both, it's a great idea to select all bank accounts. If you only have the one business bank account, that's great, but do be mindful of if one day you move from, say, NAB over to Commonwealth Bank, you'll have to go in and edit every single rule and change bank account. So sometimes it's a great idea to select all bank accounts, just so then whatever bank account you pay MCO cleaning out of, it's always going to pick up this rule. But it is really important also just to make sure that you don't have rules specific for one bank account. So for example, if you use Stripe, you might set up a Stripe bank rule. If you use a Stripe bank rule, you're probably going to use the wording Stripe, which is great to pick up all your Stripe fees. However, it's going to pick up any Stripe wording. So for example, transfers between the Stripe bank account to your main bank account. So just be really mindful. Can't go back. Just be really mindful. If it's, just think to yourself, is it a bank rule very specific to this one bank account? Or if I'm going to pay MCO cleaning out of every bank account, I always want it to go to this one account, so it shouldn't matter. The way to really double check if you have set it up correctly, if you scroll down to your MCO cleaning, as you can see here, it's now picking up the rule. I didn't actually show you how to change the description. Usually it picks up based off and again, I've just clicked into it so I can edit it. So it usually picks up the value here or the contact. You can always change this to be whatever you want. So you can just go cleaning rule or just cleaning. So then it's just as simple as it is, the better it is, because at least then when you're scrolling down, it is really important to check that obviously what this transaction is going towards the right rule. If you notice that it isn't, obviously there's something going wrong somewhere, and you can go back through some of my traps, which might be the issue. Obviously we know though MCO cleaning does match the MCO cleaning, and we know it's going to the correct contact name. So all I would have to do is click OK, and then that would be my bank reconciliation done for that one transaction. So I did say there was a few traps. So another trap is to be mindful if you're using HubDoc. So those bank rules are fantastic if you don't use a software like HubDoc, because then you want your bank reconciliation to be as easy as possible. But if you do use something like HubDoc, which is the bill extracting, you obviously want to be matching these transactions against the bills in Xero. Similar to what you do with your income coming in, you only ever want to match those incomes coming in against those invoices. You never really want to be finding the account yourself. So if you know for a fact you have an invoice in Xero, whether it be an invoice from your supplier or an invoice from your customer, you always want to be using this match or the find and match. So for example, if I knew for a fact this smart agency bill I had already put through HubDoc and it was in Xero, I should not be creating a rule and I should not be finding the account in here. That's just a trap to be mindful of. Obviously, though, bank rules are still fantastic, especially for the ones that you might not have a receipt for. So, for example, bank fees is a really great example. Bank fees, any loan repayments, transfers between accounts. So, for example, like that Stripe bank account, it's a really common one. And for example, like any monthly subscription. So, for example, like that cleaning service, if I don't have a bill that I put to HubDoc, I might have a yearly invoice that I save on file elsewhere. Those are where the bank rules come in handy. So just to jump back in to end today's walkthrough, so just the key takeaway, so just be mindful of your rules. So for example, like I said, will this pick up any other transactions? The great example is if you set a rule for BP fuel, is it going to pick up your BPay payments? So just be mindful when you're setting your rules, will this trigger anything else? The next one, as we just discussed, is are you using HubDoc? So don't be creating bank rules for items that you will be submitting into HubDoc. And of course, just be mindful, are there bank rules specific to one bank account, or can you be selecting all bank accounts? So then you can save time if you change bank accounts later on. So that's the bank rule in a nutshell. Do remember to like and subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of great content out there, Xero related as well. And as you can see, a lot more going on. If you do have any questions about bank reconciliation, obviously do feel free to reach out. Our contact details are on the screen there. Otherwise, thank you for listening in today.